Okay.
Household.
Yeah. Chapter 17. Let me just read the introduction. The other said, some households spend large sums of money, while others spend only a small amount each week. Some households also save large sums of money each week. Others do not save anything some weeks. The amount that households and their members borrow also varies. Why do you think there are these differences? There are differences. There are differences because there's differences in the level of income. So the amount a household could save will be different from the let's say household A, household B. Household A might be able to save more, while household B might not be able to save more. Household B, A might be able to borrow more. Household A might not be able to. So this is why do we have all these things? We have all these things because there's difference between the level of there is always income gap between different households. Let me put it that way. Income gap between different households. So we get to know here. So we start with, so when you talk about household, we're talking about what they spend, what they borrow, what they can save. You get what I'm saying? So when you talk about household, we're talking about what? What they can spend, what they can save, what they can borrow. So we're starting with spending. So when you talk about spending, it means expenses. Yes or no?
Yes.
Good. So people spend in order to buy goods and services and to maintain a given standard of living.
Yes.
All right. So, like I said earlier, spending means expenses. So the amount of money you are able to spend.
Yes.
And when you talk about spending, it means expenses, your expenditures. So people spend in order to buy goods and services to have to maintain a given standard of living. Among the main items involving expenditure are food, clothing, and footwear, housing, gas, electricity, water, consumer durables, transport, entertainment, and leisure goods and services. These are what people household will spend on. So what are those things that influence our level of spending? So you note this, you can't spend what you don't have, just like you can't give what you don't have. Do you understand? So if you don't have that money, you can't spend it. So there are some factors that will determine how much you can spend. To get the point here. So let's see. Influences on spending. The main influence on the amount spent by a person or household is disposable income. So when we talk about disposable income, we're talking about the amount of money available for a household that he or she can spend or save. That's your disposable. That means you paid your taxes, you've paid all your bills. The amount that is left for you that you can spend or save is your disposable income. So that amount of money, no one could question you about your spending. Do you get the point?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. So as income rises, people usually spend more in total, but less as percentage of their income. If your income increases, you spend more in your total, but less as percentage of their income. So if your income is reducing, you spend less. I think it's just logical.
Yes.
So we'll move on. Among other factors, we've talked about the first one, which is one of the factors that determine your level of spending is your disposable income, which is the amount of money that is available to you to spend or save. That is your disposable income, disposable. That this amount of money, nobody questions how we spend them. Clear?
Yes.
So the second one is the influence the amount of expenditure are wealth, confidence, and the rate of interest, the distribution of income and advances in technology. So all these other factors are those factors that can influence spending, which one is wealth. When we talk about wealth, we're talking about things you have that are much more worth than money. Your confidence. Confidence comes based on the fact that you know when you spend this, you're going to have another one. Or you believing that in the future, your income level will increase. Because you know, just as they told you, or your salary has been increased, oh, Mr. Abdullah, your salary will be increased from the next month to 700. Will be added, 700 will be added to your salary from next month. So you have that confidence to spend now because you know from next month your salary would have increased by 700. So the confidence comes there. Clear?
Yes.
The rate of interest. The rate of interest is what the amount you have to pay in saving and borrowing. Yes or no? So if the rate of interest is less, people will be able to take more money and they'll be able to spend more. So spending will increase because there's going to be money available for households to spend.
Yes.
Is it clear? Then distribution of income and distribution of income. That's the income gap. How is income distributed amongst people? So do people have more income? If they have more income, then they have more money to spend. Advances in technology. With technology, things become so better, faster. And that can also determine how much you spend because everybody wants to invest in technology. So because there's the latest technology in town, there's the latest technology in the industry. We want to spend that we want to buy it.
Yes.
That's what they're talking about there. I think it's clear.
Yes.
Okay. Now they explained each one. They said wealth is linked to expenditure in four main ways. One is the wealth which generates income. For example, dividends from shares are this income can be spent. The second is the wealth can be cash in buy. For example, withdrawing money from a bank account or selling a car and then spend. The third way is that people can use their wealth as security for loans. The fourth and the last way is that wealth also affects confidence. If, for example, the value of people's housing rises, people will feel richer and they are likely to spend more. So when we talk about wealth, wealth is linked to expenditure in four ways. The first one is how you generate that income, maybe through shares, through dividends. Yes, these things are forever.
Yes.
They are long term. So you know in your mind that, oh, you have shares in company A, you have shares in company B, you have shares in company C. These are wealth. This is how you create wealth. So this brings money to you, yes or no? Yes. So because your source of income is so much, then you are able to spend more. Yes. So that's how wealth is linked with expenditure. So because your wealth is increasing based on your dividends, based on the shares that you have cut across the country or cut across all over the world, this increases your expenditure. That's the first one. The second one is about the amount of cash you have in bank. Do you understand? So you have so much money. So you can withdraw and buy whatever you want to buy. That's what we call wealth. The third point is selling your cars. Maybe you have some assets that can be disposed and get cash. Why do people sell things? People sell things because they need cash. They are selling it because they need to cover up certain expenditure. They need to make a way for certain, they need to make up for certain expenditures. That's why they are selling that to pay that. Do you understand?
Yes.
So the third one, they said, wealth as security for loans. Because you've got so much assets. These are wealth. You can use it to get a loan from the bank as, collateral.
Yes.
So the level of your wealth can determine the amount of money that can be made available to you. That is the point.
So the bank can trust you more.
What?
They can trust you more.
Yeah, they can trust you more. They can, yes.
Yes.
Because they know that the money can be recovered.
Yes, oh yeah.
They trust you that the money can be recovered. And the last one is, here he said, the fourth and the last way is the wealth also affects confidence. So just example, you have like 5 houses and the cost of housing increases. That means you have more money.
Yes,
yes or no?
Yes.
So you can spend more. Your confidence level will increase because you have the ability to spend more.
Yes.
So that's what they are talking about. I think it's clear.
Yes, yes.
The rate of interest, I talked about it already. So go down. Are you there?
Yes.
Go to income and consumption. Are you there?
Yeah.
People can either spend or save their disposable income. You know, I told you earlier. I said income and consumption. People can either spend or save their disposable income. That's why I said disposable income is the amount of money that is with you, that is left with you, that either you save it or you spend it. That is what we
Yes.
call disposable income. That's disposable. You can spend or save. When people are very poor, they cannot afford to save. All of their disposable income will be spent on buying basic necessities. People are considered being poor. People are considered to be poor when they can only afford basic needs like food, clothing, and shelter. Shelter. Aside that, they can't do any other thing. They can't even save. It is when you have something left that you save. But when you've spent all what you've got on necessities, you won't be able to save. All right, we start. So, like we said, people are poor. When they are poor, it's because it's difficult for them to save. So they are poor because they can only afford their basic necessities. They can only spend on necessities. That's the point they are making there.
Yes.
So go down. In fact, some may have to spend more of their income in order to be able to buy enough food, clothing, and pay for housing. When people spend more than their income, they are said to be saving. Look at it. When you spend more than your income,
More than your income.
yeah, you are saving. Do you get the point here?
Yes, yes.
It's called saving. That means
It's
you are able,
overdrafting.
yeah, you are spending, you are in negative.
Overdrafting, yeah. So, overdraft.
You are overspending. Don't use
You
overdraft because it's
overdraft.
accounting.
Yeah, that's
Overdraft is
right.
an accounting, yeah. So here you are in negative. You are in deficit. You get what the saving is here now?
Yes, yes.
So this is because they are either drawing on their past savings or more likely borrowing other people's savings.
That's in Libya. There's a lot of this.
Do you understand? So you are deceiving because you spend more than your income.
Yes.
So whatever you are spending now is either someone's savings or you are spending your savings. Do you get the point they're making there? Okay. As income rises, people are able to both spend and save more. As people become richer, they buy more and better quality products. However, while the total amount spent rises with income, the proportion spent tends to fall. A top-class footballer in Italy may earn a disposable income of $80,000 per week, while an unemployed person in Italy may live on a benefit of $120 a week. The unemployed person may spend all of the $120. The footballer can clearly afford to spend more and is likely to do so. However, even if he has a very luxurious lifestyle, it is unlikely that he will spend all the $80,000. If he spends $60,000, a huge amount, he will only be spending 75% of his disposable income. While the unemployed person is spending 100% of his income. So your level of income determines the proportion of your income that you are spending. A rich person will spend less amount of the proportion of his income, but a poor person will spend virtually all his income. That's the point.
Yes.
I think it's clear.
Yes.
All right. So the proportion of income which people spend is sometimes referred to the average propensity to consume. We call it APC. And how do you divide APC? APC is the consumption divided by disposable income. Your disposable income, the amount of money you have divided by what you are consuming. So that's your average propensity to consume. Is it clear?
Yes.
So this table shows that as income rises, expenditure increases, but the average propensity to consume falls. For example, so the level of as your level of income increases, your level of spending increases, but the proportion of what you spend falls. When you receive $50,000 in a month, you might be spending $30,000. When your income increases to $80,000, you might be spending $45,000. The proportion of what you are still spending is still less. That is it. So as your disposable income increases, your consumption will increase, but your average propensity to consume would fall. Is it clear? So your average propensity to consume is divided as what? Disposable income divided by our consumption. Is it clear?
Yes.
All right. So what is the relationship between disposable income and consumption? The relationship between disposable income and consumption can also be shown graphically. This table shows that at a very low level of income, at a very low levels of income, there is the saving. At Z level of income, all income is spent. Then as income rises past Y, saving occurs. over the complete range of income, expenditure continues to rise, but rises at a slower rate. So look at it.
Yes.
At Z, the level of income falls. At Z, you are spending everything you have. You're spending more than your income at Z. That is what it means. You are spending more than your income.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when you move from Z to Y, that means your level of income has increased.
Yes.
Because your level of income has increased, your consumption level would also what? Increase. Do you get it?
Yes, yes.
But because your consumption level has increased based on your level of income increasing, you'll be able to save. But you would never be able to save at Z because at that point in time, your level of income is less.
Yes, yes, I get it.
Do you get it?
Yes.
So income, when income increases, expenditure will increase. As soon as expenditure increases, your disposable, your average capacity to consume will fall, but your savings can increase. Clear?
Yes.
Now go to pattern of expenditure. Are you there?
Yes.
Different income groups tend to have different patterns of spending. The poor tend to spend a higher proportion of their income and total expenditure on food, clothing than the rich. This is not because they eat more and wear more than the rich. Indeed, the rich are likely to spend more in total on food, as they tend to buy greater variety and higher quality of food, and more on clothes, as they buy more clothes and clothes of higher quality. The amount they spend is, however, usually a smaller proportion of their income and total expenditure. A rich US family may spend this. In summary, there's a pattern of expenditure. That means there's pattern in spending. A rich person, a person considered to be poor will spend a large proportion of his income or her income on food, clothes, and shelter. Not because that poor person has more money, is eating too much. No, it doesn't even eat like the rich one. The rich one will not eat much, but they buy quality. So the rich ones will buy more quality food, more quality clothes, live in a quality house than the poor one. But at the end of it all, the poor one would have been the one spending the large proportion of his or her income on these necessities. So those necessities, to the poor ones, they are luxuries.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it?
Yes.
They become wants for the poor ones. But the rich ones see it as just basic.
Yes, yes.
So the rich ones will spend smaller proportion of their income on food, clothing, and shelter, while the poor ones will spend large proportion of their income on food, clothing, and shelter. I think it's clear.
Yes, yes.
Spending pattern, the third paragraph, please. Are you there?
Yes.
Spending patterns vary within income groups in the country according to differences in the household composition, taste, and ages. Households without children are likely to spend a high proportion on recreation and eating out than households with children. Some households may value cultural activities more than others, while others may be keener to spend more on medical care. The retired tend to spend a higher proportion than higher proportion than average on eating and a lower proportion on transport and entertainment. On the other hand, people in their late teens and 20s often spend a higher proportion on clothing and entertainment. So what is the point about here? Spending also varies based on age, based on class. Do you get what they're saying there? So people in the teenagers or those in their 20s will spend large proportion of their income on clothes, luxury, and entertainment. But a household with no children, a household with no child or children might spend a large proportion of their income on eating out, holidays, and entertainment. But a household with children would not do that, might spend more on food, clothing, shelter.
Yes, yes.
So the kind of lifestyle you live can also determine the level of your spending. That is the point they are making there. Is it clear?
Yes.
So we go to saving. Are you there?
Yes.
There are numbers of forms of savings. Some forms are contractual. This means that people sign a contract agreeing to save a certain amount on regular basis. The main form of contractual savings are insurance policies and pension schemes. sometimes people are forced to save for the future. So these things will come based on different strategy or through some institutions. So like insurance, you are saving for the rainy days. Like pension scheme, you are saving for your future when you won't be able to work anymore. That's pension.
Yes.
So we call it contractual saving. So we have the non-contractual savings, which include placing money in the bank, building society's account, buying government securities, shares, and property. By its very nature, non-contractual savings varies more with time and is more heavily influenced by changes in interest rate than contractual saving. For non-contractual saving, like you buying shares, you saving money in the bank, all these things are influenced by interest rates. That is what they are saying here.
Yes.
So this is you won't have them except because the interest rate in the bank is increasing. So you have the incentive to save. This is non-contractual. Is it clear?
Yes.
So why do people save? So we go to reasons for saving. But before we go to the reasons for saving, we said we have two types of savings. We have contractual saving and non-contractual saving. We call it contractual saving because you've signed an agreement to save certain amount of money in specific period of time. So an example is insurance policy. What is insurance? The transfer of risk from your own shoulder to the shoulder of the insurance company. You could insure your car, you could insure whatever it is.
Yes.
So why are you insuring this thing? You are insuring it because of a loss that might occur in the future. Same goes to like pension. There are pension schemes. That means you are saving certain amount of money from your salary because of the future when you won't be able to work, when you are retired. So when you are retired, you get the total amount from the pension company. That is contractual. For non-contractual, this is influenced by the interest rate. Non-contractual is just like you saving money into the bank. It's non-contractual. No, but if you like, you save. If you like, you don't save. So most of the time, people save when it comes to non-contractual, it's because the interest rate is increasing. So there's always an incentive. There's always a motive to save. That is non-contractual. I think it's clear.
Yes.
So now we go to reasons for savings. For saving, people save for a variety of reasons. Some people are what are called target savers. This means that they save to gain a particular sum of money for a particular purpose. This may be, for example, to buy a car or a home. So we call them target savers because they are saving for a certain reason. Oh, in the next 10 months, I need to buy a car. Or in the next 10 months, I need to get a house. So I'm saving towards getting that thing. That's a target saver. You are saving for a purpose.
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes.
People also save for their retirement. This is pension. For their children's future, for precautionary reasons. Here we're talking about people saving because of the uncertainty that may arise in the future. That's another reason. I think it's clear.
Yes.
The third one, some people save in order to help finance their children's education or to leave them an inheritance when they die. So people do save also to keep property for their children when they are gone.
Yes.
That's another reason for saving. That's the third one. The fourth one, and also their education, to finance their education.
Yes.
The last one, it says some people also save to increase their current income. So sometimes you know that your income is not increasing. The only way to be able to afford a lot of things is to start saving. So when you save, the next time you see your savings, you like when you add it to your income is increasing. So some people save to be able to increase their level of income. Is it clear?
Yes.
So these are the reasons why we save. So what are the influences on savings? So what are the factors that determine if we are going to be able to save or not? The first one is income. The level of money, as your income level increases, the amount of money you are able to save will increase. So look at what they wrote here. They wrote, and as with the consumption, the main influence on saving is disposable income. As disposable income rises, the total amount saved and the proportion saved ratio increases. As your level of income increases, your disposable income will increase. And remember, your disposable income is the amount of money that is available to you to either you save or spend. So as it increases, your savings will also, the proportion that you save would rise. That is the point.
Yes.
The second one is wealth. What you have, your assets, things you have. So things you have will determine if you are going to be able to save or not. Because when your wealth continues to increase, your interest will continue to rise. Then you'll be able to save more. The third one is the rate of interest, which is the amount you get, the amount you pay for borrowing or the amount you receive for saving. If the interest rate increases, you won't want to withdraw, you would rather want to what? Save more and save more to be able to enjoy or to gain that benefit of high interest rate.
Yes.
Do you get the point?
Yes.
The tax treatment of savings. So tax concessions on the income earned from savings will encourage people to save. So if governments do not charge taxes on savings, people will be motivated to save more. Isn't it? That is the point. Is it clear? Is it clear, please?
Yes. Yes.
The range and quality of financial institutions. So the greater the variety of saving opportunities on offer, the more likely people will find the scheme that will suit them. Confidence in the ability of institutions to pay an interest and pay the amount saved is also important. So the range and quality of financial institutions. What are financial institutions? These are institutions, these are organizations that are able to keep your money. They deal with money. So if you have different kinds of financial institutions available in the country, one way or the other, one will suit what you want. Because businesses, we said, businesses must find what customers need. They must produce what the needs of customers.
Yes.
So these financial institutions like banks, like insurance companies, they would have make research on the needs of customers and they will provide such service. So that service might suit you. Because the service suits you, you go into that service. You buy that service. So the influence on savings depends on the quantity of financial institutions available. And not only that, the confidence level of people in those financial institutions being able to pay back whatever they have saved. So if I know that if I am saving money, I won't be able to get it when I need it, I would not want to save. That is the second point there. So we're talking about the quantity and the quality of financial institutions. So the quantity talks about the numbers we have in terms of financial institutions, and the quality is the kind of service they offer. Do people, do customers have confidence in them or not?
Yes.
So the confidence level of customers will determine if they will be able to save in the bank or not. Is it clear?
Yes.
Age structure. So the young and the old tend to save less than middle-aged people. So young people and old people, they said the young and the old tend to save less. Young people do not save. What do they spend on? They spend on entertainment, clothing, and the rest. Yes or no?
Yes.
Old people, they don't save much because it's their age time. They spend on health, they spend on healthcare. They want to feed well, they want to do these things, and they want to have more time to do, so they don't spend. But middle-aged people, people like us,
Yes.
we save more. Do you understand?
Yes.
So that is the point they are making there. I think it's clear.
Yes.
Then we have the social attitudes. So we're talking about the attitude of saving varies between countries. In some countries, in some it is held in a high esteem, while in others, people prefer to spend most of their income when they receive it. So it depends on behavior of people. So some countries, they put it on high esteem, like, no, it is important for us to save. Some countries is not like that. They prefer to spend what they get. That is the point they are making. Is it clear?
Yes.
So we go to income and saving. Saving is disposable. Okay, please. Yeah, we said income and saving. Saving is disposable income, which is not spent. As already noted, it is not possible to save below a certain income level. As disposable income rises, both the total amount saved and the proportion of disposable income saved increases. So it said as disposable income rises, both the total amount saved and the proportion of disposable income saved increases.
Yes.
So because your level of income is increasing, the proportion of what you can save will increase. Yes. And the proportion of what you can spend will also increase. That is the point there.
Yes.
Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. The average propensity to save is calculated as savings by disposable income. Average propensity to consume is your consumption divided by disposable income. Here, average propensity to save, your APS. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
This is average propensity to save. It's not the same as average propensity to consume. For average propensity to consume, it is your disposable income divided by your consumption. For average propensity to save, it's your savings divided by disposable income. Savings divided by your disposable income.
The same thing, but you.
Yeah, but now it's savings, it's consumption. Consumption for APC, savings for APS.
Yes, yes,
Is it clear?
yes.
Okay, let's go. So, what's the relationship between disposable income and savings? As your level of income increases, your disposable income, your APS would start increasing. Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
As your level of income increases, as your level of disposable income increases, your savings will increase. Your average propensity to save will also increase. That is the point there. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, they said at an income of $500, people save 30% of their income. It's useful to know that APS plus APC add up to 1, since the disposable income is either spent or saved. So the point here is this: your average propensity to consume and your average propensity to save will give you 1, because you are spending. Is either you spend your disposable income or you save your disposable income.
Yes.
You get
They
it?
all add up to 1.
It will add up to 1. Why is it adding up to 1? It's adding up to 1 because your disposable income is 1.
Yes.
So it's either you spend it or you save it.
Same, yeah.
So either ways, it's coming back to disposable income.
Yes, yes, okay. No.
Is it clear?
Yes.
So that's why it's a straight line there.
Mm.
So we'll go down. Borrowing. Are you there?
Yes.
Borrowing moves income from people who do not want to spend, who do not want to spend it now, to those who need more money than they currently have. Some people who run into financial difficulties borrow in a bid to maintain their living standards. These people hope their income will soon rise so that they can repay the loans and overdraft. Look at how borrowing comes from. Borrowing comes from those who have so much that don't want to spend now because they would have saved it. And the bank has received it. The bank can borrow it to those who need it. That is the point they're making here. Yes, sure. Borrowing. Borrowing comes from those.
Yes.
Hold on, please. For borrowing comes from those who have a lot of money, but do not want to spend it right now. They would have saved in the bank. So because the bank now has it, the bank will be able to give to those who need it right now, or who needs to finance their project, but they don't have the amount of money needed to finance their project. So borrowing does not just come from the bank. It comes from those who had saved their money in the bank. That is the point they are making here.
Yes, yes, yes.
Do you get it now?
Yes.
So borrowing comes from you having so much money that you
So
don't
save
need
it.
now. You went to save it.
Yes.
As soon as you save it, the banks need to give it to, they need to transact, they need to do business with it. They need to invest with it. Because they have to create their own money. They have to create something. So in the course of creating it, they would give it as advance to customers, to clients, who they are sure that will pay back with interest. So they keep the interest, they give you back your own money or pay you little interest on it.
Yes, I get that.
Clear? That is borrowing. So okay. So the loan that take out is called, okay, let's just see if I can. All right, let me just continue with the lines. Some people, okay, those people who hope that their income. So before you borrow, most of the time people do borrow because they know that their level of income will increase in the future. Because if they don't know that their level of income will increase in the future, they don't have the income that would pay that debt.
Yes.
Because if they had the income, they wouldn't have borrowed in the first place. So people do borrow because they feel they have the confidence that in the future, their level of income would have increased than what it is at that time of borrowing.
Yes, yes.
Do you get it?
Yes.
Okay. So other people borrow in order to, for example, buy a car or go on a foreign holiday. Most people who buy a house have to borrow some of the money to finance their purchase. The loan that they take out is called a mortgage. So people may also borrow to finance their own education or education of their children or to cover healthcare costs. So these are reasons why people borrow. Borrowing enables people to spend more than their current disposable income. So what borrowing does is this. It allows you to spend more than what you have as at present now, as at now. So you have a disposable income, the amount you can either save or spend.
Yes.
But this amount that you can either save or spend is not enough for you. That is why you are borrowing. And you are borrowing because you feel that in the future, your level of income would rise to be able to pay the debt or the interest of the debt. Is it clear?
Yes, it is.
So it does, however, involve a cost in the form of interest, which has to be paid. It is also usually a temporary situation as loans and overdraft have to be repaid. The poor, while sometimes having a greater need to borrow, are likely to experience greater difficulty in borrowing. This is because they would have less security to offer for any loans, and lenders may be more worried about their ability to keep up interest payments and pay any loan. The influence affecting the amount of money provided people borrowed include, before we go there, the poor have the tendency to borrow more. The poor would want to borrow more money.
Yes.
But financial institutions will feel reluctant to borrow them money. Why? Because the financial institutions consider the poor as high risk. They might not be able to pay back. They might not be able to pay back the loan, or they might not even be able to pay the interest on the loan. So the poor people find it difficult to even get loans. That is the point they are making here. So what are the factors affecting the amount of money available for people to borrow? One, the availability of loans and overdraft. So if it is easier to borrow, people would borrow.
Yes.
If it is difficult to borrow, people will not be able to borrow. That is the first point. Is it clear?
Yes.
The second point, the rate of interest. You know, we said the rate of interest is the amount of money you pay on borrowing, or the amount of money you receive from the bank for saving. So if the interest rate is increasing, borrowing becomes difficult because it is expensive. So people would not want to borrow.
They will save.
They will save.
Yes.
But here we are focusing on borrowing. So if the interest rate is increasing, borrowing would fall.
Yeah.
And yesterday we were talking about government taking charge of the central bank.
Yes,
If you know this is what we're talking about.
yes,
Government of a country might reduce the interest rate because of public opinion. So if government does that, it might decline the economy.
yeah, because they're borrowing. They're going to be more.
Borrowing will increase,
Yes,
and that might even increase the demand in the economy, leading to shortage. Clear?
Yes.
The third point, confidence. The more confident people are about the future, the more they will anticipate earning in the future. So they may adjust their spending patterns now, financing some of their extra expense by borrowing with an expectation that their higher income will enable them to repay their loans. So if you have a confidence that, oh, by next month my income level will rise, you want to borrow now,
Yes.
then you have a date to pay back because your level of confidence, because you are confident that you'll be able to pay back. Social attitudes, people's behavior can also determine the level of your attitude towards borrowing. That's the point. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any question about it?
No.
So go to the multiple choice questions. The first one, interest rate rises. How is this likely to affect household savings and expenditure? When interest rate increases, savings will what?
Right.
Will increase.
Yes.
Expenditure will what?
Will fall.
Will fall. Thank
Yes.
you. So it is what?
B.
B. So
Yes.
question 2. What is most likely to cause a rise in expenditure in an economy?
Rise in expenditure.
Yeah.
Rise in confidence. C.
A rise in confidence.
Yes.
Yes. A. Question 3. What can cause a fall in savings? What would reduce your savings?
Which is the savings.
Yeah.
Rise in
A fall in savings.
Oh. Wait.
What would make you not want
Yes,
to
yes,
save?
I know. It's B. A fall in the rate of interest.
If the rate of interest falls, you want to save more.
Also,
No, you want to save less. Sorry, you want to borrow more.
Yes, yes.
So, and a
Yes,
fall in interest rate is C. Right?
It's B. Yeah.
B. Yes, it's B.
Yeah.
You got it. Thank you. And the last question: what must be occurring if consumption is less than disposable income? If your consumption, that means what you are spending, what you are spending is less than what your disposable income is. What could have happened?
Income levels are very. Oh, yeah.
So what must be occurring if consumption is less than disposable income? Your consumption, what you are spending,
This is
is less than what you have.
what will be occurring? Saving.
What must happen if what you are consuming is less than your disposable income?
What you are consuming is less. I think it's borrowing. No. Wait. Its income level is falling.
Do you know consumption means spending?
Yes, it's
So
spending.
what would have happened if what you are spending is
Yes.
less than your disposable income?
See.
No,
B.
it's saving.
Huh?
It's saving.
Saving. I said it in the
Yeah,
first time.
you should convince me.
Yes.
You should convince me that you said savings, yes? I was waiting for you to say, yes, savings. So
Yes.
when I look at you, I want you to have that confidence that your answer is right.
Yes.
That's it. They said, what would have happened if you're spending? You know, disposable income, they said disposable income is the amount that is either you save or spend.
Yes.
Now you are spending less. You will save more. That is what it means.
Yes, yeah.
So the answer is what? D.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes.
So that ends the chapter. Household, right?
Also,
Yeah.